Well, as Brad said, I'm Tyler. I've been coming to New Life now for the past few months. And as Brad said, we got to meet over the good fellowship and of coffee, the great gift of God. And he wanted me to share my story today, and I'm just super excited to do that here today. Growing up, I have an older brother, and our family, we grew up Christians, and we went to church every typical Sunday. After church, we'd always come home and we'd all sit down and have a nice lunch together and watch some football, of course. And growing up, it was kind of for my brother and I, it was kind of just going every Sunday. At first, we didn't really understand much. It was kind of just going with our parents, and our grandparents went to that same church, and being able to sing. And then we later then got involved into the youth group at that church. So we kind of went. For me, I went there all the way up until fifth grade, and then we went to a different church, and that was where a lot of my friends went. And we moved school districts and everything. And so we went to Cornerstone Church, and my brother and we loved it right away. And for me, I got heavily involved in the youth group. Went every Sunday, and later on went on a bunch of mission trips. In my junior and senior year, I was able to go on a Mexico mission trip with our church. And later on, throughout high school, I struggled really bad with depression and just finding out who I was. Growing up, our family was very tight-knit. And once we kind of grew up a little bit, going on into high school, we noticed our parents didn't really get along as well. And in my beginning of my junior year, one night my parents sat both my brother and I down and gave us the news that they were getting divorced. And immediately that I just crumbled. I didn't know what to do. I had so many questions. And at that time, like I said, I was finding myself. And high school was hard. Didn't have too many friends. Just played a lot of sports, and that was kind of my getaway with sports. I could just find myself in that moment. And when my parents got divorced, it was just so hard. So the depression got deeper and deeper, and I just had all these questions. And I barely graduated high school. I had so many distractions, and I was getting into things that I shouldn't have. And it was just so hard. And I was able to find a friend group that just welcomed me with open arms. And the fact that not knowing me right away, and I met them through my church group and everything, it started to see that for the first little bit it was friends, but it was coming together as a family, and that's what it became, was a family. And so earlier this year was one of the hardest times I've ever been through. We had different stuff going on throughout my family, just a lot of struggles, and I got laid off from a job, and it broke my heart. And there was just so many things going through my mind, like why does this have to happen to me? And earlier this year, I attempted suicide, and it was just such a. I look back on it now, and it's so hard, and it's something that's so broken and so brutal, and in that moment, you feel like you're absolutely nothing. And in that day, I was surrounded by a bunch of friends and family, and just seeing the look in my dad's eyes just absolutely broke me. And seeing the different reactions of people around me, and it completely took me back. And on the way to the hospital, I kind of just sat in that bed in the back of that ambulance, and just in a frozen state of shock, and asking so many questions in my head, and asking who am I? Like this is not me. And so we got to the hospital, and I was able to rejoin with my dad and everything. And in that moment, I was just in so much physical and mental pain. Just seeing my dad there crying, and I'm crying, and not knowing what's going on. And the fact that I still had someone there, I knew there was hope. I still had so many questions, but I knew there was hope for me to get better. And so later that night, due to COVID and everything, my dad had to leave. And so I was brought to a room with a couple nurses, and it was a darker room. It was just a TV and a couple chairs in front of a TV, a couple recliners. And in that moment, they sat me down, and it was kind of just doing a bunch of tests of blood work and seeing how my blood pressure was and everything like that. And in that moment, I was still in so much pain. And at the end of the night, I had a meeting with a psych doctor, and I was very nervous to open up. I am a person that is very sheltered, very closed. I do not like to speak about my problems, and it is just very hard for me with all the stuff that I've gone through for me to open up to certain people. It's even hard for me to open up to friends and family. But I've gotten to that point where I know everything is okay. And in that meeting that I had with that doctor, this is a one-on-one with a stranger. And the nurses were kind of listening in on it and everything. And I sat in that room with that doctor for 2 hours, just told him everything about my life, all the struggles I was going through, everything that I had questions about, asking if this is it, like is there a way to help me get better? And so that meeting just went so well. I have never done that ever, even with friends and family sometimes. I've never opened up that much and was able just to speak my mind and give everything and open everything to someone I have never met. So after that, it was kind of sleepy time. I was pretty tired, and so I laid there, and I was beginning to fall asleep, and I just kept waking up. And I've never had a major Jesus moment. I've never really had a conversation with Jesus or anything like that. And there was one moment that I was sleeping, and I just emerged up right out of my chair. It was, I can't even explain it. And I heard in my head, and I heard God say to me, "Do you trust me?" And I kind of choked a little bit. I started tearing up, didn't know what to do, and I said out loud, and I said, "I trust you." In the back of my head, I also forgot that there was 2 nurses in the room, and I'm saying, "I trust you" out loud. And they're asking me, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. Well, I'm all right." And so later on that day, I was able to take more tests, and I was able to be discharged later that morning. And my dad came and picked me up, and just the biggest hug. I just sat there, one-on-one with my dad, and just could not stop crying. And it wasn't a crying of hurt, and it wasn't a crying of sadness and depression. It was tears of seeing someone that loved me so much and was so heartbroken by what happened 24 hours previous to that. And we have a saying in our family, kind of between my grandpa and I. whatever happened in your past doesn't mean that you don't have a future. And I look on that every single day where I'm at now, with a great full-time job, with great friends and family that I have here today. And I don't even look at them as friends anymore, because that is my family. And I have been surrounded with so much love, so much passion, and just the fire and passion of Jesus Christ in our friend group, every day at my job, and when I go home. Just seeing that in everything that I love and everything that I put my time and my passion into brings nothing but tears and joy to my face. And that's why I'm here today, because I look at this tub and no one can take that away from you. No one can take that relationship that you have with God, because that is your moment and that is your relationship. And I always look at, every time I come in here on Sunday, I always look at those manners. 0 unchanged. And if I can do that with my daily life and meet a stranger or rekindle with a friend or someone at work and just help them out, find out what's going on and help them what they're going through, I knew that I'm doing the right thing and walking with God every single day, hand in hand, following footstep for footstep in His name. And that's why I'm here today.